Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cinema Savvy. My name is Tate. How are we all doing today? I'm back today with another review. I seem to be doing a lot of reviews at the moment because I'm catching up on all the cinema from coming back from Austria. And this is one I've been looking forward to for quite a long time for multiple different reasons, which I'll get into in a minute. But welcome to our review of Challengers. Yes, the 2024 tennis romance film, which is weird that that's a genre that has like a couple of different films in it. But do you know what? I'm okay with it being that kind of film genre because, I love tennis and I love films. So, yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. First of all, I want to hear your thoughts below. Okay. First of all, go and follow us on our various different social medias. So go follow us on Linktree. That'll take you to all of our different socials down below, including our Facebook, our Twitter, our Letterboxd, and also our what's the other one? Instagram. It'll take you to all of those, and you can go and follow us and find out when all the videos are coming out in the future. And also, of course, comment below what your thoughts were on Challengers. I really enjoyed this film. I'll just get off the bat straight away. There are a few things which I didn't enjoy so much about it, but that's less of a film criticism and more of a kind of tennis criticism. And this review is going to be an interesting one because I'm coming in from two different perspectives here. I'm not sure whether there are too many film reviewers out there who can be coming from the same perspective. I'm coming here from a film reviewer's perspective, but also from a tennis coach's perspective, because that is my career. Outside of skiing, it is coaching and playing tennis. I wanted to get a tennis racket for today. But I didn't decide to get, one of my normal tennis rackets. Actually picked up this in a charity shop the other day. It's from the 70s. It's wooden. It's great. But yes, I want to go at it from both perspectives because, being in touch with the tennis community and people have been talking about this film going, oh my God, there's a tennis film coming out. So, I've got to play to that audience as well and talk about some of the things in this film that they do right and do definitely wrong as far as tennis is concerned. And I'll also be talking about the film itself because it is a piece of cinema. Therefore, you've got to look at it as if it was a piece of cinema. So this can be really fascinating. Let's start off with kind of talking through the film itself. So Challengers, let me pull up the IMDb plot synopsis. I do not have it in front of me, which is not normal. Normally, I have all of these things set up ready to go. Instead, I decided to have all of the other information up there. So Challengers, Tashi, a former tennis prodigy turned coach, turned her husband into a champion. But to overcome a losing streak, he needs to face his ex-best friend and Tashi's ex-boyfriend. That's the premise. So Tashi Duncan, this kind of child star of tennis, kind of in the same vein as your Coco Gauffs right now, young tennis star destined for greatness, gets herself injured, basically becomes the coach of Mike Face's character, Art Donaldson, and he has to get out of a rut and face off against Josh O'Connor, Patrick Zweig. The character is called, and that is all about kind of, revisiting their past friendship, as they used to be doubles partners, they used to be best friends, but also Josh O'Connor's character used to date Zendaya's character. So it's a bit of a weird love triangle, and this film does a very good job of kind of building up those relationships and talking about those relationships and everything like that. It is directed by, I want to get this pronunciation right, it's directed by Luca Guadagnino. I think I got that right, Guadagnino. It's a difficult name to pronounce. I should have got it first time, but who is the director who did Call Me By Your Name. That's probably his most famous film. So it's done in a very similar kind of stylizing sense. You've got that kind of air of nostalgia flowing throughout the film, even if it isn't a nostalgic time setting. I remember watching Call Me By Your Name and kind of getting the feeling of kind of, it being a hazy dream of summers gone by. And with this film, it's very similar. It's just kind of a hazy dream of tennis and a hazy dream of, playing a sport. And it's shot in that kind of style, a lot of static camera shots, not much movement, kind of with that kind of pastel-y glow going throughout. Not quite Wes Anderson-esque, but getting towards there with kind of the way it's set up and the way that it's portrayed. This film, interestingly, it's quite a raunchy film. It's a 15 in the UK. I don't know what that translates to in America, but it's got, you know, quite a lot of sex scenes in it, I will say. It's quite a steamy film. It's very heavy on the romance side. It does also play into the sport as well, so it plays off the tennis angle, shows a fair amount of tennis scenes, and kind of balances out between, you know, it being a film about the tennis and it being a film about the relationships. And that's where kind of a lot of the people will fall on this film. Do you enjoy the relationships? Do you enjoy kind of the portrayal of the tennis and stuff like that? And that's the kind of two perspectives that I'm coming at from here. Going into individual performances, Zendaya is fantastic. She is having an amazing year as far as film's concerned. Not just off the back of, you know, Dune Part 2, but, you know, in general, the films that she is choosing and everything that she's being put forward for, like she was the main headline almost at the Met Gala this year. Like she is on the rise to being like the biggest movie star out there, if not already there. Absolutely phenomenal kind of career trajectory and stuff like that. And the fact that she's attached to Marvel still, the fact that she's, you know, she's gone on and done the right films at the right time. She's been in the right popular film at the right time, ones which weren't necessarily meant to be popular. I mean, you always want your film to be popular and stuff like that, but I wasn't expecting The Greatest Showman to be as popular as it was. And there you go. It got really, really popular, and she just happened to be in that film. This film as well is getting quite a good kind of, you know, box office at the moment. And I think she is the main draw of this film. A lot of people are just going to see her at this point. When you get to that stage as kind of a superstar and someone who's also got the acting talent to, you know, win Oscars in the future, and, you know, it's difficult to put her forward for an Oscar nomination for this. It's a good performance, but it's way too early to call, and I don't think it's a strong enough standout performance to say, yes, you're going to be nominated for it off the bat. But she is absolutely on the rise, and her career is just going to skyrocket from here, especially off the back of a film like Challengers, where it's getting a lot of popularity. And, you know, you can see in the film, you know, her character is stone cold in its portrayal. A character who is very flawed in the fact that she wants to see good tennis and she's willing to manipulate relationships around kind of pursuing her own career goals. Like I said, she gets injured in the film. That's not a spoiler. It's kind of, you know, told in the trailers and stuff like that. So she puts all of her career aspirations that she was going to do on her husband. And that's a lot of pressure to put on him, especially seeing as she's meant to be that kind of loving person by his side, her, like, you know, the mother of his child and everything like that. But on top of that, she's also his tennis coach. She is there giving him daily advice. And there's a really good scene in the film where literally it's laid out, and she, it's not a spoiler, but she basically says, do you want me to be your wife or do you want me to be your coach? And it's such a savage scene in the fact that their relationship has kind of boiled down to that. And she is conniving, she is wicked in this film, in the fact that she is willing to risk it all, manipulate in any way, shape, or you know, every single way possible, just to see good tennis from her husband, or just to see some passion on the court and some passion in her own life. It's a really, really interesting dynamic in the film. And we got to talk about the other two people who are involved in this dynamic. Let's talk about Mike Faist, who, once again, an actor I've absolutely kind of loved his kind of different roles that he's taken on ever since West Side Story. He has been absolutely fantastic in all of his kind of portrayals and everything like that. He was great in The Bike Riders last year. He's picking roles that seem to be really, really good at the moment. We know he's got that musical talent as well. So I'm intrigued as to see what he goes on to do next. And in this film, he plays someone who is, I like to use the term whipped. He is absolutely under the spell of, you know, his wife. And you see that relationship build up throughout the film. You see kind of how he's able to get into that relationship because Zendaya was in a previous relationship with Josh O'Connor's character. He basically swoops in and is almost kind of like sitting on the outside of that relationship, pretty much the third wheel, but then kind of, you know, dethrones and kind of steps in and becomes the actual kind of winner of that relationship battle, you know, throughout the film. But it's absolutely fascinating to see kind of his character, who is a dedicated sportsman, has won it all, and this your kind of Roger Federer type who's gone on to do loads of big tournaments, but then has sadly completely fallen off and is now kind of struggling to win in challenges. It'd be more kind of akin to someone in the tennis world, like, Stan Wawrinka or your Dominic Thiems, who had a good run, has an injury, and now is looking to retire on a high or looking to get back into the game. And for those who don't know, challengers, there's different tiers to kind of tournaments in world tennis. You have your 4 majors, your Australian Open, your French Open, your Wimbledon, and your US Open. You then have these challengers, which come in different forms. So you have Masters events, which are like the big ones. Beneath those, which are like your Miami Opens. You've got your Indian Wells. You've got your World Tour finals and everything like that. And then you've got underneath that challenger tournaments, which are like low-grade tournaments, local tournaments, which have good levels of tennis, but low entry kind of things. And this is where this film kind of stems from. You've got your really top of the game person trying to get back in with Mike Faced, Art Donaldson playing against Patrick Zweig, your Josh O'Connor character who has been bumbling around these challenger events for years, and it plays so well in. And the chemistry that Josh O'Connor has on screen with Mike Faced, with Zendaya, all 3 of them combined is absolutely fantastic. I haven't seen Josh O'Connor in anything. I didn't watch The Crown all the way through. I think I got through series 1, then partway through series 2. But I know that he's meant to be very good in that, and he is very good in this as well. He plays that kind of calming persona, that kind of sly cheekiness, and that kind of, I don't know, kind of character all the way throughout, kind of trying to be humble, trying to kind of do that. But you can tell that he is absolutely fiending for Zendaya as a character. And it's a brilliant dynamic, a brilliant relationship that plays out on screen between all 3 of them. The tension they have between scenes when they are, kind of challenging each other, and the good chemistry they have, that you can see they had a friendship, they had a bond, all the way back then, when they go back in time. And this film's played out into different kind of acts and different parts. It's played out across a game that they play against each other at the final of this challenger in nowhere. It's a non-named, it is a named place. It's somewhere in New York, but it's a non-challenger, really. No one's ever heard of it. It's kind of one of those, they're just playing a challenger. It's low stakes, but it's made such high stakes by the fact that it's these 2 playing each other and their relationship with Zendaya's character of Tashi. It's fantastically laid out, and the tension is there. Not just the kind of physical tension of them playing a sport, but the sexual tension as well, with it being a romance film and those 3 characters having that romantic entanglement in the first place. It really does work very well in that sense. The film itself, like I said, played out in the tournament. It's split into 3 different acts. It's split into first set, second set, and third set, the deciding set. And whilst they're dotting throughout this game, and they're showing the points from this game, and they're showing the tension of it, they go back in time every now and then and show how the relationship tore itself apart between Mike Fake's character and Josh O'Connor's, between Art and Patrick. And it shows how Tashi is the one basically pulling the strings behind that. And that's the entire dynamic of the film. And it all leads up to kind of this finale. And I don't want to give any spoilers about the finale, but it goes down to the wire, and it really does get very, very tense on not just a personal level, but also from the tennis kind of level. It ramps up throughout the games and everything like that. Of course, we had it as our film for the weekend last week. I need to compare it to Wimbledon. As a film, Wimbledon, another romance tennis drama. Love that film. I'm going to be rewatching it on the run up to Wimbledon this year. It's very, very interesting in the fact that one, I've always commented on how the tennis doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel real. And it's the same with this film. And obviously, it's very difficult to get actors to play a sport if they've never played the sport before, if they're not to the highest standard. And in this film, they try not to get in as many kind of wide shot stunt double things. And you can tell it's the characters kind of hitting and playing. And they use very interesting camera techniques to make it so you can kind of see it's them playing, but it's not really them playing, if that makes sense. And there were videos being put out of Zendaya training with someone to make sure she had the right shot shape and everything like that. But even with all those things, I do have to comment, the tennis scenes I'm not a fan of. And this is where the, tennis coach head comes in and everything like that. And you look at the technique and you look at everything like that, and it's so wrong. And you compare it to other films where you're looking at like the Iron Claw from this year, where the wrestling scenes look real, feel real. And there are other kind of sports films like football films and stuff like that where they get it right. You could tell from kind of, some films it's a bit off, it's a bit iffy and stuff like that. But for some strange reason, they're able to get baseball films right. They're able to get American football films right. There's still no tennis film out there that feels like they're actually playing tennis to a good standard. There are good tennis scenes in films, but you're still not there yet. And it's not just kind of the things that are noticeable, like kind of hit, reverse shot, hit to make it look like they're actually just hitting one ball and it's not a rally, but it's the way they're swinging the racket, it's the way they're holding the racket. You take one look at it, and if you've ever played a game of tennis, you look at that, or if you've ever watched a game of tennis, you look at it straight away and you go, that's just not. It's just not. And it comes down, like, even with kind of the final few points and stuff like that, where they up the intensity, it feels like it's sent into overdrive because they use a bit more slow motion to try and convey it. They use different camera angles, like underneath the court and stuff like that, which is really cool. But as far as the filmmaking is concerned, it's good. As far as the actual sport itself that's being shown on camera, it's bad. And that's where I can't give this film more praise. It's that one stopper that's stopping me from giving it like a really, really, really high rating in my own books, because they don't get the basic things right from that end. And you can't call it a sports romance film, a film that is literally about tennis. Of course, the tennis is a metaphor for the relationship and stuff like that that's going on, but you cannot give it the right kind of level if you can't get those basic things right. And anyone who's seen tennis before, anyone who's realized that, like, seen any of that sport, you see it straight away. And I know it's very nitpicky. I know it's very, but it's a film. Come on, get over it. Take off your sports coach brain for a second. But I've seen people online comment who don't really play tennis, who don't believe the realism of the points and realism of the shots and realism of the situations. And I can completely see that as well. One thing I will commend them on is they got the tennis rackets right for the time. That's a tennis nerd thing in me going, oh, they've got the correct Wilson rackets for the time. Oh, he's using a head racket, and he's using Tayte fiber, and even something as simple as putting the elastic band on the strings instead of a dampener. I've seen players use that before. It's fits into his personality, the character of Patrick Zwei's character, very, very well. It's laid out well in the end. It's got the right intentions, but there are certain things that do kind of narrow me off. And as well, you're not meant to like any of the characters in this film. They all do things which are not really, recoverable as characters. But in the end, it's one of those where you don't want to pick a side because there's three of them involved, and it's all about those three. There's no other characters of note that you would want to name. It's just these three main characters, and then it's just other people who are in the background and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of my review for the film. I enjoyed the cinematography. The music is odd. It's by I keep on forgetting the names. Reznor and hold on, let me pull it up. It is by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who have done those tracks for Fincher and stuff like that. They're from Nine Inch Nails. It's such an interesting score and soundtrack. I don't even know like how to describe it. It's like weird kind of nightclub vibes, but it's also kind of a hint of 80s. It's odd. It's so odd. Whilst watching it, there are certain scenes where the music just comes in really, really loud for no reason. And that doesn't really pay off until later on in the film, where you kind of realize why that music's coming through. But at the same time, it's so off-putting to start off with, and it's going to put off a lot of people because it doesn't come in at the right time. But then you realize why it isn't coming in at the right time. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it's an odd soundtrack, an odd score. Wouldn't say it's one of my favorite by them. You'd be looking at like Gone Girl or any of the other kind of ones from Fincher, where you'd be kind of going, oh yeah, I really enjoyed that. But yeah, it's a very interesting film. I quite enjoyed it, but at the same time, I've got my own criticisms of it, and I've put those aside now. I'd be really interested to see what other people think about this. I know that it's been given overwhelmingly good reviews online. I know that people are saying it's an early contender for the Oscars and stuff like that. I could see it being nominated for cinematography because there's some amazing film techniques done in there. I could see it being nominated possibly for Best Direction. And then maybe a supporting actor role. And it'd be really interesting to see who they would go, who has the stronger performance. I personally think that Josh O'Connor has the stronger performance over Mike Faist in the film. But I think, Mike Faist has more screen time and more stuff to do. But I think the scenes with Josh O'Connor are better acted. So it's going to be an interesting one to see whether it gets put forward, because it's been given overwhelmingly positive reviews. Zendaya would be another interesting one as well. Do I think it's a strong enough performance? We'll have to see throughout the year. I don't think it would have been a strong enough performance to get into last year's Oscar nominations for Best Actress. But I mean, Luca Guadagnino, he's had Oscar pedigree before, so he could get back up there again with this film again. We must find out. We must see. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching my rambling review of Challengers. Once again, please be sure to follow us on all of our social media channels. So that's Linktree, link in the description. Go down there and just kind of see everything there, and we'll keep you up to date with all of our videos and everything like that. So tune into any of those that are coming up. Thank you ever so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next review. Thank you.